talk about one of their best practices. But before we even start that, we would like to thank Moshe and the National Fallen Firefighters for wonderful lunches that they provided to us. We're very appreciative for that, and I hope you all are having a good time, have got a lot of good information shared, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for allowing us to present for today. Cancer in the Fire Service. First, I want to introduce Nick Pancione. He's a firefighter with Fairfax County, soon to be retired. Nick has come down. He has fought and overcome throat cancer. Cancer right now in our industry, it's there, and we just got to figure out what we're going to do about it. So right now, we face many hazards in our occupation. The fires that we're going into are generating lots of toxins, and little is known about the long-term effects of them. Right now, so far this year, 9 people in Fairfax County have been diagnosed with some sort of cancer, 3 leukemias, 3 prostate, 3 skin. So, our department is a pretty progressive department, and we are trying to figure out how we're going to deal with this, both preventative-wise and after we get a diagnosis of one of our members. Addressing the issue in the field, we now are SCBA is used all through overhaul. We have our hazmat team that is monitoring for toxins. They are using mostly for benzene. They have a device that they go in. They start at the front door and they measure toxins until they get to the point of origin. What they're doing as well is they're bagging the gear and then letting it sit for 5 minutes, ripping the bag, and then sticking the meter in there to see what's off-gassing from the PPE. And there have been some instances where benzene is being off-gassing from the firefighters' personal protective equipment. What they're finding out, I talked to one of the hazmat officers this morning, and what they're finding out now too is with wet contaminated gear, there's a little off-gassing, but once that gear dries, they're finding that those levels are rising and they're detecting contaminants in them. So they went as far as to go ahead and after they detected benzene on one of the firefighters' gears, they did a gross decon. And soap and water, let it dry, and then went back, put it in a plastic bag, and then tested again, and levels came out 0. So gross decontamination seems to be working. As our skin temperature rises, our pores open up, and they're absorbing a lot more of the toxins that are in the air. One of the biggest things are the hoods now. The hoods that we take off after an incident when we come out, the hoods around our neck are absorbing a lot of the chemicals. Nick, you want to talk about your throat cancer and the hoods?
Just mainly what I wanted to say is make sure that everyone's taking when they're in rehab, making sure they're taking their stuff off as soon as they get back to the station. They need to, while they're in rehab, they can take wipes and wipe the skin, and then wash the hoods when you get back, pretty much.
Yeah, one thing we've provided with our units now are wipes. We call them fire wipes, but really they're baby wipes. But it's just another gross decon on the scene. So, if you're there for a long period of time, you can start wiping your skin now before you get back to the firehouse to take showers. The hoods, as soon as they get back to the firehouse, second B set of gear, take your new hood out, throw your old hood in the washing machine. Wash your uniform, put another set on. Sunscreen, three cancers, skin cancers. So our department is providing sunscreen, to our units right now. I mean, we are, whether it be training or you're on an extended event out in the sun without any shelter, we're providing sunscreen now too as well. After an exposure, we have a great safety program that actually sends out the incident number and a reminder, and it goes directly to the link here to fill out exposure report. Exposure reports are important if by chance you have the unfortunate event of coming down with cancer. One of the first things that you're going to have is those long list of exposures, that you've been exposed to. So documentation is a priority with our department. Addressing the issue after diagnosis. Nick came to the Wellness Fitness Center where I work after he was diagnosed, and I just, what can we do to help our folks out after diagnosis? So this information, we came out with a guidebook, and basically what I did is we researched, everything that a person goes through and everything Nick went through. How can we help our folks go through this process? And we documented. I have a copy here, and I'll give you my information if you guys want a copy of it. We can provide that for you too, so you can look at it and maybe tailor it to your own department. In the process of writing this guidebook, another member of ours came down with cancer, and his supervisor was like, "Man, there is nothing for a supervisor that lets us know how we deal with this." So through that process, there's a section on there, and it's for a supervisor dealing with an employee that comes to him with cancer. So it's a good piece of information. It's a living document, so it's always going to be, it's a work in progress. As we find out new stuff, we're going to add to it. And one of the biggest components of that book is, in the end, we want to try to have a list of firefighters in our department that have come down with cancer that are willing to talk to members that come down with it also. One of the big things that Nick told me was that, they didn't want to go to some support group with a bunch of people they didn't know. They wanted, people in the field, other firefighters that they could lean on and talk to about that. So, like I said, I've got a copy of that, and if you want, we can send it to you and get it to you. I'll give you my information. Prevention is the key. Right after we came out with the guidebook, there was a new research study that came back that said, nearly half of all cancer, newly diagnosed cancers are preventable. And they're preventable, by, quit smoking, tobacco use, exposure to sun. But if you look right here, this one right here, up to 1/3 of all new cancers diagnosed in the United States are related to being overweight, obese, physically inactive, or having poor dietary habits. So just, with your departments and getting a good wellness program and working out and staying healthy, that's going to prevent 1/3 of all cancers. So that's encouraging, I would say, to say the least. And in this respect, what we've done in Fairfax County is we have hired on a nutritionist, and we also have a strength and conditioning coordinator. And what we've done is we've targeted 2 firehouses where we've gone in with a nutritionist, and what she has done is told the members at those fire stations to bring their families in, because it's a change in the way, it's a lifestyle change as far as eating goes. So what they did is they brought all the families in, and she just did a presentation on healthy eating. And when she came into the department, I said, "You're not going to get these guys to eat nuts and berries and granola and all that stuff." So there are stipulations. There's got to be, you got a certain amount of money you got to work with. You got to have leftovers and all that stuff. So she was she went out to the fire stations and she kind of learned a little bit of the culture. And what she's did is she's brought them in and counseled them and their families. She's took the firefighters out to the grocery store, shown them how to shop, simple things like, shopping in the exterior, the perimeter of a grocery store is where you're going to find most of your healthy eating. Inside, the middle of it is where you're going to find all your processed foods. So she's done that. What we did is we took biometric screening on them, all their blood. We got blood labs, baseline blood labs. We took their fat and baseline, and we documented them all. And what we did is we had our strength and conditioning coordinator go over there, and what he did was baseline fitness assessments on all of them. And it's a 10-week process. There is improvements. There's guys on the shift that's lost 10 to 12 pounds in 3 weeks. So things are working, and it's not as bad as one would think. She's not trying to change anyone. She's just trying to make what they're eating a little bit healthier. Another thing we had too, if you got time, I brought a video. We have a video that Nick and 2 other guys did. It's a testimony of their story about cancer in the fire service too. I have about 10, 15 videos we have now. It's about a 19-minute video. If you want to see it here, we can play it for you here, or I can give them to you as you leave too. So it's up.
He volunteered for 2 or 3 years prior, and then he retired in 2006, about 28 and a half years on. Then in 2012, November, he came down with esophageal cancer. He had been having issues swallowing for a few weeks, a month or 2, and then decided to go get an endoscopy so they could investigate, see what was going on. After the endoscopy, the doctor, he was in a recovery room, the doctor came back and said, I've got some concerns, we see something there, we're not sure what it is, so we're gonna send it away and do some tests, whatever. And they said it could be cancer, and that was just, out of left field for me. My dad responded to the news probably better than anyone else, which was kind of weird, I thought, but at the same time, I think he was trying to protect the family by not, obviously he was upset, but he didn't show it like everyone else did. I think his goal was, okay, well, this is just something we're gonna have to, just a hurdle to jump over, something we're gonna have to deal with. And that's truly was his mindset. Was he upset? Absolutely. Was he scared? Absolutely. But he also knew he had to do everything he could in his power to stick around for a while. And I always thought throughout, if anyone can beat it, it would be my dad.
It started with a elevated PSA at my annual physical, and that was in 2011. Now, prostate cancer is a slow-growing cancer, and the PSA test is not an absolute proof that you have cancer, but it's just an indication. So the doctor at OHC said, let's watch this and see what it does next year. Next year, it went up again, higher than normal. So at that point, the doctor recommended that I go see a urologist.
I was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. I had a mass in my neck. I went to my regular physician, and he just thought I had, because I had sinus infections, he just thought it was a blocked duct. So he gave me some medication, sent me home for a couple months. I went back and I still had it. So he referred me to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And when I finally got the appointment to go there, when I went in, I was not thinking that he would say that it looks like you have cancer. I just thought he was going to say that, yeah, you just have a blocked duct or something. So as soon as I walked in, he said, that's not a blocked duct.
My dad kind of downplayed it, I think, because that's the kind of person he is, and also he didn't want us to get freaked out and super worried. He's just like, yeah, it's a cancer, we know who the doctors to see, we're gonna go talk to them tomorrow or whenever in the coming days and figure out a game plan, figure out how we're gonna attack it. And
he just said, you're a firefighter, more than likely that mass in your neck is cancer. That was it. I never really thought about cancer, to be honest with you, other than it was a word in the firehouse we just kind of just ignored. Everybody thinks they're not going to ever get it. It's not going to happen to me.
Prostate cancer, if they catch it early, is pretty curable. However, what if they didn't catch it in time? I was thinking about, if it is spread outside of the capsule, got into the lymph nodes, got into the bones, got into the other organs, that'd be a whole different story. And then I'd be going through radiation, chemo, and a lot of other treatments.
It was more than a shock. I was, I think I just completely shut down. I didn't know what to think. there's a million things that run through your head, you know, how you live your life, whether you're going to live, whether you're not going to live. There's just a lot of things, and I just couldn't get any thoughts together at the time.
I mean, he put forth the effort as much as you can expect from anyone, and we all saw that, and we knew he was doing everything he could, but still, I mean, when you see how it's taking a toll on his body, it's hard. It's very hard. I mean, I don't wish that upon anyone, because it surely does. Just, it hurts the whole family.
Well, the treatment process is I had the one surgery, then I had another surgery to remove my tonsil. And at 52 years old, getting your tonsil out is quite an experience.
He'd had radiation, chemotherapy, numerous times. He had surgery. I mean, every treatment they threw at him, he opened his arms to, and just unfortunately, it's just one of those things you have no control over. I mean, he did everything the doctors told him to do. He did it, and he didn't always want to, but he knew that's what he had to do to be there for his family and try to get better.
And then about a month and a half later, after he was sure that I had healed and my blood cell count had come back up, they started radiation. 5 days a week for 6 weeks. In the first week, it was not bad at all. It was, I thought, well, this is going to be a cakewalk. The second week, I started to lose taste. My mouth would burn, my throat was sore. By week 3, my energy was starting to be sapped. I was losing my appetite to the point where I was dropping pounds rapidly, to the point where I had 2 weeks left of treatment, and if I didn't force myself to eat, they were going to put a feeding tube in my stomach.
The treatment, I can tell you, I've gotten through it, but it hasn't been that pleasant. There's still some side effects I'm dealing with. They should go away over time, but it's a life-changing experience.
And even I'm cancer-free now for close to 2 years, almost 2 years. And the fear doesn't leave you. I mean, I still have to go to appointments. And every time I go, the night before I go or a couple days before I go, that's all I think about.
Never doubted that he'd be able to go through with all the treatments and he would complete everything he had to do, and everyone says, you know, he had to fight, and I mean, there's no doubt that he was going to fight with everything he had, and just unfortunately things progressed and just got worse over time. So
I've had a lot of support from my friends in the department. They've reached out, you know, offered to help in any way. I'm stubborn and strong, so I didn't accept a lot of that help, but yeah, the guys were there for me, and girls, they were all there for me and helped me out a lot.
I think the one thing that kind of pulled us all through is that we do have a very close-knit family. So whether it's me, my mom, my brother, my sister, everyone was kind of around to help out and try to stay upbeat about the whole situation. Even though we didn't know what was going to happen, we knew that it was a terrible disease, and if you do the research, then you'll see that the outcome is usually not very good. So we knew it was important to stay upbeat and to help my dad do anything we could that would help him stay positive.
Coming to work every day was probably the best thing for me, because I was able to be around the people basically that I grew up with. You know, the department I came on the job very young, and so basically it's the people that understand each other.
It's really been great to get back to the field and to start running the calls again and to helping people and to see all the guys and girls and talk to them, and everybody's asking how I'm doing and all that, and you know, everybody's telling me I look good, which I don't know about that, but no, I feel like I've been working out hard and trying to get myself back into shape and thinking about taking care of myself better and, you know, what I can do to make my retirement a lengthy one.
We can look at the past and we can see all the injuries, the health concerns that the people who mentored me have, the people that have died. We have to learn from that. And the culture of this department has to change from now going forward in the future, or we're not going to change anything. We're going to still lose the same amount of people. This is a profession that is high risk as it is. So the mentors that come today need to make sure that we teach the youth of the department today that we have to take better care of ourselves.
When I was in rookie school, we burned diesel fuel in the burn building, the old burn building. And when we came out of there, we were covered with black soot. We were wearing SCBA, of course, but we were just covered with black soot, and you had to scrub for hours to get it off. And of course, we didn't take a shower right away. We still had the rest of the day and several more fires to go through. So, this soot had plenty of time to absorb through the skin. Another thing we did was the pit fires up on the hill here at the academy, and we don't even know what we were dumping into those pits. It was donated 55-gallon drums of flammable liquids, anything from gasoline, kerosene, paint thinners. It burned like crazy, and we didn't wear SCBA.
Every single time that we go out into a building, whether it's smoke-filled, whether it's fire, it's all it's all in saturating our clothing. It's saturating our skin. We just need to understand that we need to be better at taking care of our gear, and no one wants to hear that, really. I didn't want to hear it when I was younger, but we just need to understand it is imperative that we keep our gear clean, that we shower immediately once we get back, and when that rig is ready to go for the next call. Part of getting ourselves ready for the next call is getting ourselves ready. That means showering, change clothes, wash the clothes that we wear, and make sure that we take care of our gear properly.
We need to wear our SCBA all the time, every fire, food on the stove, car fires, dumpster fires, just anytime there's any smoke, you need to put that on, and then you need to leave it on throughout overhaul.
Just there's no excuse not to do that stuff, because why don't you want to put your mask on? Because it's going to take you 10 seconds. I mean, or just because you think it's cool. Well, it's not cool to have cancer.
I just want to tell you all, it's not acceptable to be the cowboy anymore, to not wear your SCBA. Older guys that have been doing it for years, and you're still healthy, and you still look like the tough guy. Think about the effect you're having on the rookie firefighter behind you. He sees what you're doing, and he's going to do the same thing throughout his career.
Well, my dad's message would be, especially to the younger members, is to take care of yourself, to work out every day, to wear your face piece, to plug the ply vents in, to not wear your gear in the stations, to fill out exposure reports, all the little things like that really none of those things take more than 30 seconds.
The nature of what we do in the fire services is we help others. We pretty much mostly are type A, positive people, not negative. So I have a great support network around me, from the fire department, my home life, my family, my friends, everything. So I'm able to stay positive, which is one of the most important things to beating this disease.
I had some friends that I could talk to, and since I've been part of health and safety, I had some friends there that I could talk to, and I kind of knew my way around the system. But for somebody that's not aware of what they need to do to file a workers' comp claim, what doctors to see and that kind of thing, it'd be great if we have a group of people that have been through situations like I've been through.
Guys and gals need immediate support from people that they can relate to. When we deal with outside, we're dealing with emails. Sometimes members from other departments or other retired members from other jurisdictions, they have lives. Sometimes it takes a while for them to get back. So if we had a support network in this department, among our own peers, our own members, it would be a lot better off.
I think it's important that we educate our members to, think about what could happen in the future. I have to admit, I didn't start thinking about retirement until I got fairly close to it. I wish I would have started planning that sooner. And I certainly didn't think about having cancer before it happened to me.
I mean, some things you just can't prevent, and to be prepared as you can, prepare yourself as best as you can to fight those diseases off and keep them away from you. Because the little things that you don't do eventually will add up, and hopefully not, but I mean, they can lead to some serious diseases and cancers.
We all have to be responsible for taking care of ourselves and doing the right thing. Don't rely on your officer to tell you to put on your mask when you go in for that food on the stove. Do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your kids. This may prevent you from going through what I've gone through.
Cancer is a real issue that affects all of us, so talk about it. Understand that we can beat the disease. It's not going to take all of us. And the more that we talk, eventually they will find a cure for it. And it helps other people heal. It helps us heal inside.
The effects of smoke and products of combustion have a well-established measure of concern within the fire service. Historically, inhalation of smoke and hot gases has been realized to have an immediate effect on your ability to survive, and both short-term and long-term effects on your lungs and your ability to breathe. Cancers were not realized to impact the fire service in greater proportion than the general population, and the fire ground was not realized as a source of carcinogens. But the materials within occupancies and the products of combustion from today's fires are very different than those that the fire service of a generation ago fought. Today's fires have more in common with a hazardous materials event and contain high concentrations of potent carcinogens. Today's firefighter needs to be aware that the chemicals generated from these fires can not only enter the body through inhalation, but also by absorption through the skin, and that absorption greatly increases with increased body temperature. This is revealed in recent studies that now directly associate firefighting with higher incidences of multiple forms of cancer than what's seen in the general population. In progressive departments, there have been changes made towards reducing exposures to cancer-causing agents. We don't sleep next to our off-gassing bunker gear anymore, and we've installed diesel exhaust removal systems in our fire stations. But we need to look to the fire ground to do a better job of managing cancer risks there. We need to wear our SCBA longer through overhaul operations. We need to clean our firefighting gear after every fire, not just those from which it's visibly contaminated. We need to remove our hoods promptly and use skin wipes to stem the continuing absorption of chemicals through the highly absorbent skin of our neck and jawline. And we need to shower on return to the station and put on a clean uniform to further reduce the absorption of contaminants and to reduce their transfer to our station living environments. Change is difficult, ever more so in the face of strong cultural traditions, but we have to do it. Our culture was forged in the fires our predecessors fought, and while they may not look different, our fires hold a much greater threat to our long-term health. Cancers that have origin in the products of combustion of materials in use today place today's firefighter and today's fire service in a new risk profile. We can't afford to ignore the magnitude of this impending fire service health catastrophe. We need to confront the truth that today's fireground promotes cancer, and that a cultural change will be needed to reduce cancers associated with firefighting.
Thanks, Fairfax County, for coming. That really is a great ending to 2 great days. One of the objectives that we wanted to do with this symposium is the free flow of information between jurisdictions. And when we first started talking about having this symposium, we wanted to expand outside the Baltimore metropolitan region. And that's why we extended the greeting to participate to our Virginia counterparts, along with Washington, D.C., Prince George's County, and then the Baltimore and the Maryland jurisdictions. I think it was truly a success. It's information like this that goes a long way, it really does. And if you look at all the breakout sessions and Gordon Graham and everything, and take the information back to our individual jurisdictions, I think it just gets us a step further in really defining what safety is, and not only saying safety, but really doing something about it. And I really commend Nick to take the time to come up here and share his stories with us. Just a couple other notes. First, Joanne was a little bit fast with the thanks for the lunch. She was correct about the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation's co-sponsored the lunch, but it wasn't Mosh, it was MSA yesterday that sponsored lunch. So we do extend our thanks to MSA, and again to Victor and Ron Sarnecki and a group from the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Before I let you go, I would like to extend a round of applause to my team, who did a really good job in putting these 2 days on. Last but not least, if you haven't already, we got the date for our 2nd annual Safety Symposium. Please take a flyer. We'll be sending information back out to all the participants. Your certificate will be mailed to you as soon as we get them signed. For the folks in Maryland, you for both days, you will receive 6 PDI credits for attending, so that's great. If you go back home to your jurisdictions, don't hesitate to send Eric or Joanne an email on anything that you think we need to change or we could do next year better or whatever. We're hoping to expand, and we're looking for any and all programs, both existing and changes, to offer to the group next year.